I'm getting my wallet ready for shopping.
Really?
Just regular shopping, grocery shopping.
Mine's already been going.
Is there Black Friday grocery shopping deals?
Well, so I did all my
Where's that?
Thanksgiving stuff yesterday, right? Like I went and I hardly ever do the grocery order where you go pick up, but I got my whole Thanksgiving list, and I went to like 2 stops yesterday, and it took me like 45 minutes counting driving, and it was the best Thanksgiving shopping experience of my life.
Nice.
Yeah.
I'm lucky. I still get together with my family, so my mom and my brother do a lot of the cooking. So we just have to bring like a dessert or a side dish. So I always go the Tuesday beforehand
Nice.
There
at
you
all
go.
of our stuff, so we can make it all tomorrow.
Wait,
I found a hack.
Ooh.
Well, not super hack, but I'd been shopping at like bakeries to bring like a pie or cake. Turns out Whole Foods, despite being known as Whole Paycheck, has a surprisingly affordable bakery section relative to like the quality, like the visual quality you get, because they're pretty cakes. Like they look nice, they taste pretty good. And they're not that expensive relative to a bakery, at least in the Bay Area. I don't know what it's like for other metro areas, but yeah.
So the thing I've found about Whole Foods is that they loss lead some stuff real hard. Like it's hard to find maple syrup cheaper than at Whole Foods. Like they sell a big jug of maple syrup, and it used to be $12. Now it's like $18, I think. But it's, if I buy the same amount of maple syrup at Safeway, it'll be $25. So like you got to go in there and like you got to get the Bezos tax in and get your savings on the Bezos dollars on the stuff that they're trying to suck you into the store with, and then you got to avoid the cheese section. That cheese section is dangerous, right? Because you can be like, oh, look at this, it's a little slice of fancy cheese, and you're like, oh, this is $100, and then that's dangerous cheese. But yeah, so are you all ready to go? You got your Black Friday shoes on, you got your Thanksgiving boots on, ready to do it?
I am indeed wearing sweatpants. I am ready for Black Friday.
Okay.
I'm wearing something that has no waist right now, so I'm already prepared for Thanksgiving.
Okay, perfect.
I need a cheese board by my desk,
so
just so I can get ready.
I mean, here's this is a divisive question, because I've hosted a lot of Friendsgivings over the years, and it always was not a problem, but a challenge. Is like, are you all like midday eaters, or are you like late afternoon, evening eaters? Like when is your ideal for the gorging process that happens on Thursday?
Why am I making a choice, Will?
Are you just an all day grazer? I respect this, Elena. This is good. Like the food's out, you just go in.
I'm eating.
Okay.
Yes.
Okay.
In my house, where we usually eat around like 1:30 or 2. You know, everyone starts showing up around noon, help them finish up, have some fun, sit down to eat. Then that way everyone can relax and watch some football and kick back, chat with each other, and then the pies come out. So.
Nice.
See, this is the thing about the East Coast, is you guys get the afternoon, evening football. Like the Tigers game always comes on at like 11 o'clock in the morning here. So it's or Lions, I guess. It's always the Lions that play first, right? It's the Lions and then the Cowboys usually, or it used to be. I don't know if it still is.
I can't even imagine. That breaks my brain thinking about it. I've had to live through that a couple of times, going to CES in California and different things. And having football start at 10 a.m. just is unnatural.
Okay, as a longtime college football watcher, getting up and going to somebody's house at 9 o'clock and having like brunch and cocktails and watching the noon game on the East Coast, it was really weird at first. And after 20 years, I'm totally into it. It's like a nice way to start the day. And then you watch your game, your heartbreak happens, and you go on to the next. You have the rest of your afternoon to recover. Willis, how are the hamsters looking?
Hamsters are running. We got all the friends in the house. Data says, "Where's the pie?" I wish I know where the pie is. Where's the pie, Will?
I gotta make the pie tonight. So tonight I have to spatchcock a turkey and put it out in the fridge to air dry and get all the the stuff, the dry brine on it. And I might make pies if I'm still feeling up to it after that. But maybe tomorrow's pie day. I don't know. We'll see.
All right. Well, the pies are running. I think we are ready. We can go.
We can go? Okay.
Go. All right. And then let me get this done. Okay. Well, why don't you kick us off?
You ready?
Yeah, let's do this.
In this episode of The Full Nerd, another Battlemage leak, the biggest, best, most beautiful Black Friday PC deals, and your questions answered.
Oh, Will.
Good job, Will.
Nailed it.
Adam told me. Welcome to episode 327 of the Full Nerd
26,
PC
26.
26.
Yeah.
Welcome to episode 326 of the Full Nerd PCWorld's weekly podcast about PC building news. I'm your fill-in host, Will Smith, but I'm joined today by some truly delightful folks. On the line, we have Brad Sharkus.
Hey, Internet.
Hello, welcome. Elena Yee.
Hello, it's shopping time.
And on the verticals and horizontals, as always, Will Sline.
Hello, everyone. Happy Tuesday. Happy Black Friday week. It's not Black Friday yet, but the week to shop is among us. So yeah,
Tis the season to buy both the essentials and the non-essentials. I'm gonna go and tell you, a little pellet ice maker showed up at my house the other day. I was pretty happy about that. It was an early TikTok deal, is my understanding. I don't know.
you shop on TikTok.
My wife is buying occasional things on TikTok, which seems really scary and sketchy to me. But I don't know. The ice maker seems okay so far. We're breaking it in now. So
Nice.
but yeah, how are you all doing? How's the I don't know if people realize this, but in the PC journalism space, in the tech community for writing about this stuff, like this is like Super Bowl week for a lot of folks in the you know, like, hey, what should we review? What should we buy? What should we test? Are we feeling good? You guys ready to go?
Feeling good, feeling great. Feel good every year. We have it is like the Super Bowl is pretty crazy. It's not quite as much as CES or like E3, but put a lot of work in this week. You know, we spend all year testing all this stuff to be able to tell people what's good, what's trash, avoid it. And this is an important time. So I hate working on deal stuff as much as I do, but I love that, you know, we can help people out avoiding trash, getting the good stuff for good prices. So busy, got a process. We got it down by this point. We're good.
It's always nice. Like it's one of those things, like, I'm always nervous because before I was working here and seeing you guys all the time, there's not a lot of places that, you know, that test this stuff as much as much as it used to be. And there's a bunch of fake reviews out on the web now. So you got to be a little careful. And it's nice to just say, when somebody says, hey, I need a laptop and I want to get something that's good and a good deal, I say, oh, hey, go to the PC World laptop deals page, because it's gonna give you something you need at a bunch of different price points. You'll be able to get something. We'll talk about that though.
Appreciate you, dude.
In a little
yeah,
bit.
we try. We actually we have the Monitor Geek do the monitor roundups. Our laptop editor does all the laptop roundups. Like the dude who tests Thunderbolt stocks for us, he's in charge of looking for good Thunderbolt deals. So we try to add like super good context. Hey, I've tested 50 Thunderbolt docks this year. This one's actually worth buying, and it's actually hella cheap because I actually pay attention to this. We try.
Yeah, it's good. It's never been more confusing to buy stuff than it is right now, I think. And it's good to have that shining light on the hill to tell you where to go. So yeah, I guess let's just get into it. Let's talk about, we talked about Battlemage a little bit last week.
Yeah,
I want to get through the Battlemage stuff. We can talk about the deals because I think that's what people are here for.
Yeah.
What happened?
Well, so we talked about Battlemage last week, and then somebody just posted the full product page for the ASRock, for one of the ASRock Arc Battlemage boards on Amazon Friday afternoon, right about the time you were clocking out, I think, probably, Brad. Does that seem right?
It was after I'd already worked 13 hours. I closed my laptop, and this dropped like half an hour later. So it was about 8:30 at night, East Coast time, I think.
Oof.
But yeah, so yeah, you know, out of nowhere, ASRock just dropped not a full listing, but a pretty revealing listing on Amazon for Intel Arc B580 card, which, you know, awkward. Awkward for a couple different reasons. We'll get to that. But it's not a fully fleshed out listing, but it did provide some information about the product that obviously we didn't know about. We were just talking about this last week, and we're like, maybe it'll be out in December, maybe it won't. This definitely makes it seem much more likely that we will see a Battlemage launch in December, seeing as how it's on Amazon already.
Yeah. So I guess what are the to me, the big thing that stood out was the memory config. Which kind of tells us a couple of things, but yeah, I guess break it down a little bit.
Yeah, so the interesting thing to me is that it has 12 gigabytes of GDDR6. So it's sidestepping the whole, is 8 gigabyte enough? That was the bane of $300 and below graphics card last generation. This card is going to have 12 gigabytes. That's great. You love to see it. It's going to be clocked at 19 Gbps, which is great. That's a little bit faster than comparable cards from AMD and NVIDIA in this presumed price space right now. So it'll be fast. And it even has a 192-bit memory bus, which I'm pumped to see because with the 4060 series and the AMD Radeon 7600 XT, so all like the entry-level cards for those two, they gimped them with 128-bit buses.
So
which means that even if you're playing a game where the GPU could theoretically get bumped up to 1440p, with a memory bus that small, it locks it down to 1080p. So I'm really intrigued by this memory subsystem.
Wider, faster, and more.
Yeah, perfect. Just like me on Friday.
I mean, it's good. It seems like they're positioning it to come in and be like 1080p to maybe 1440p, kind of like that kind of range, especially when you figure in that they have their equivalent of DLSS, which I'm completely blanking on right now.
XESS.
XESS, thank you.
Yeah, I'm intrigued to see it because the name is what makes me excited. We'll see probably in December what the actual specs are, but the A580 came in at $179. If this B580 is able to get anywhere around there, 200-ish bucks, and outpunch a 4060, which I'm pretty confident second gen Battlemage would be able to outpunch a 4060 with this kind of looking like config, might actually be a really, really good affordable graphics card.
Well, and so this will be presumably their low end part. I don't remember how the naming scheme works with the.
It was like if you can compare it to the first gen cards, this was like the mid range.
Okay.
This was the affordable, $200-ish graphics card. They also had the A770, but they also had a 300 series line that was mostly there for the AV1.
Yeah,
adding that to desktops that need it.
So this is presumably, 12 gigs of memory also makes me think this might be a compute card too for people who want like an entry, like a little bit of compute, but not want to pay $2,000 for a video card, right?
Yeah, definitely could be. That was actually a lot of people who picked up art graphics cards the first time were for the compute and for the creative AV1. So I could definitely see Intel continuing to lean into that.
Interesting. And this is pretty, since it was posted on Amazon on the ASRock like page, this feels like pretty reliable info.
Yeah. This is not a fake page. It's not like a third-party seller. That was the ASRock page. It just got published well before it should have, I think. Because I'm not going to repeat the whole thing here, but the actual product description they used.
It's pretty amazing, man.
Yeah, it was great. It was very frank and raw assessment of first-gen Intel parts and saying that after the chaos that it launched with, hopefully there are no glaring bugs in this one and they'll be good. Which it's like, ooh, this launched way early.
Yeah, this is why you never type placeholder joke text into the CMS.
No.
But yeah, I just want to like. Literally, it says, following the chaos of Alchemist, the company has practically redesigned its graphics architecture from the ground up. Providing there are no unexpected instabilities lurking in XE2 architecture, there should be for more compelling competition to GeForce and Radeon. Like that, damn. It's just get it all out there.
That sounds like something I would write, and I'm not trying to sell these things.
Yeah. I don't know. I mean, look, if the price is right though, this will be bonkers. Like a really nice $200 under $200 1080p card is something that hasn't kind of like they all have big caveats. So, I mean,
yeah,
good for
I'm
them.
really curious to see where it winds up in the final tally of things. Because right now you can get a 4060 for $300. A little bit over that most of the time because you're getting the third party cards, the big bulked out coolers and stuff. But $300 for 4060. I could see second gen Intel easily matching that. And if they can get this to $200, if it just ekes past 4060, I think that's awfully compelling. If it can firmly sail past the 4060 and sell for $250, I think that's awesome as well.
Yeah. It'll. I mean, they'll move cards presumably, like using same core on the Lunar. We talked about this a little bit last week, but using the same core on the Lunar Lake laptops. a lot of the problems with those early drivers seem to have been worked out, and it seems much more robust now. There's a lot more machines in the market, so people support it.
Yeah.
Seems good.
Whenever I have to use my Intel graphics card, not have to, whenever I throw it in, play around with it for a little bit, it's night and day compared to when it first launched. It's so much better now. You shouldn't have to worry about stability issues 99% of the time.
Yeah, especially if you're the kind of person who plays the same. Like if you're playing Call of Duty, if you're playing whatever, you're playing your Fortnite, you're playing your Call of Duty, you're playing your Apex, whatever, the same game every week. You're not like the first day new release player. Like this is a real, like, should be compelling. I hopefully we'll see when the reviews hit, but anything else?
We'll hear more soon.
Yeah, hopefully we'll hear more soon. I'm excited to see how this actually goes. And I'm curious to see what people in the chat think. So if you have questions about this, drop them in. We'll do them in the Q&A at the end.
I tell you what, if we want to segue, I wish this thing was announced 2 weeks ago.
Okay.
Because there's a lot of uncertainty in the air about whether graphics cards, even on sale, are worth buying this Black Friday. Because AMD and NVIDIA are coming out at CES. If this card winds up being very capable for 1080p gaming and affordable prices, like, you might regret picking up a Black Friday graphics card if this launches 2 weeks later. You know what I mean?
Yeah, it's like that's always the challenge, right? When you're staring down the barrel of Black Friday and there's product announcements coming around the corner, they're coming. This was the X3D problem a couple of years ago. We're seeing it again this year with all the Zen 5 parts. It seems like, or all the 9000 series parts. Like what's the vibe on Black Friday this year, Elena? Are people excited? Is there stuff to be excited about?
Before I answer that question, I actually want to slip in here with a comment related directly to what Brad just said. So one of my strategies for Black Friday, and maybe I am showing some, I don't know, privilege here that I can afford to do this on a credit card, or that I have a credit card. But the strat for Black Friday is that you order it on Black Friday, but you don't open it. Right. So usually holiday return windows go until for most major retailers, they go longer than your typical 30 days. Obviously, check the store you're buying from just to make sure. But like Amazon extends out to January. I think Best Buy is extended out to January, which is a big deal because Best Buy's return policy is the most trashed here of all of the major retailers. Newegg's a little weird because Newegg has always historically been a little bit rough when it comes to returns. So keep that in mind if you're buying from Newegg. But like if you're buying from Amazon, very easy returns typically. If you live near B&H, probably could also just go ahead and return in store, I believe. Don't quote me on that. I haven't looked in a while. If you're buying from Micro Center, should be able to return in store as well. So like if you're strategic about where you buy, then you can kind of play what I call like deal arbitrage, where you're basically going like, all right, so I got this deal on this card or whatever part you've got, but in case it goes down further or there's going to be a coming component drop that I may want to get instead, I have the option to return it as long as I don't open it, because then you have to deal with like open box return policy and restocking fees and all that nonsense. So just buy and hold if you can afford to do that, if that makes sense for your financial position in life. Otherwise, I guess you can just play the waiting game if you're really not sure.
I for what it's worth, I've returned stuff to B&H that was unopened and didn't have any problems. They opened has been challenging with them in the past. There's restocking fees.
Oh yeah, no, I meant B&H is just that for us on the West Coast.
Oh right,
it's so far away. It's not worth the return shipping fees.
Yeah,
Do you know what I mean?
Right.
So like if you live near like New York, then maybe it's not a big deal because you probably could go in store and return. That's how I strategize for like things like this. So like I might pay an extra $10 to buy it from Amazon, but if I think I might want to return it, then it makes my life a lot easier, right? I don't have to pay return shipping fees, that kind of nonsense. So that's just that. To answer your question, I have not actually been listening to what the internet has to say about Black Friday because I think everyone's just kind of gone into this with a sense of gloom and doom. Inflation the numbers have gone out in terms of like how much it's growing or like what we're on pace for inflation, but it doesn't mean the prices have come down. We've had a weird year in that last year at this time, it was like raining SSD deals in terms of how cheap they were. And, that those prices went up and they basically explicitly told us they were planning to do that. Like all the companies that deal with NAND, they were like, well, we're raising prices on you. Get used to it. And we're like, okay. Well, sounds like that could be a monopoly kind of thing, collusion. But all right, I guess it's not based in the United States, so we have no say over this.
Look, you can't spell collusion without you and I, Elena. That's the thing I always say. But I mean, even with that aside, there have been I've seen some SSD deals that looked like okay. You can get a 1 terabyte SSD for like $59 right now, which isn't like an all-time low, but that still feels reasonable to me, right?
Right. Like so that's what I was gonna say. Like for some of these categories, you're gonna see prices that aren't terrible, but they're not what you would expect from Black Friday, where it's just like, oh wow, like that took a decent haircut. You're not going to necessarily pay a ton extra, but you're also, because, and this is one of the things I've had to do in my roundup for SSDs right now, where I have to contextualize it and say like, hey, if you actually remember last year's prices, this is why it seems more expensive. So these deals are relative to the current context, right? You can't just wish last year's prices back. I mean, I guess if you really want to, you can call this a bad deal compared to last year's prices, but that takes it completely out of context. You couldn't get this price this year after like say January, February. So this is the best you can do right now. This is a good price. So buy if you want, buy if you don't want. I will say, I think we normally go through this kind of like component category by component category.
Yeah.
I'm going to start with the ones that I find a little less interesting or a little less hot. So graphics cards have not been that hot, right? I just feel like there's just been really nothing that came up. I think the most exciting one that I saw across my feed was like a 6800 XT for 420, which is not a bad price, but like 420 is not, outside the jokes you can make about that price, it's not necessarily like super noteworthy price.
Yeah, that seems like a bad deal. Like especially with new stuff on the horizon and AMD saying they're going to go after the mainstream and Battlemage on the cusp, and like maybe wait and see on GPUs this year unless you really, really need something bad.
I wouldn't say it's a bad deal. I would just say there's just not a deal really to be had. It just feels stagnant. You know what I mean? Yeah. I kind of have similar, like, I wouldn't say similar feelings, but cases are always kind of this thing where it's very luck of the draw what you get. I have seen a couple of fan favorites go on sale, which is nice. So if you've been in the market for a mini ITX case, like you want to replace the one you've got, or you just want to, rehome your PC, or you're going mini ITX for your next build, Cooler Master NR200, super fan favorite, $50 right now on Amazon.
Wow.
Similar, Adam's not here to sing its praises, but he loves that Fractal Terra, especially the one in the jade color. So that kind of like really pretty, like metallic, medium green color. That one is not on huge sale, but Fractal cases typically don't go on deep discount. So that one's like $140 right now. Typically, I think around $170, $180. So not a huge discount, but I mean, it's still solid. Covers your tax in high sales tax areas, plus a little extra. And those are both really nice cases.
Oh, we lost Elena.
There goes Elena. All right.
The deals were too good.
Something I wanted to hop in with.
Yeah.
So I will do that right now. Graphics cards.
Why'd you hang up on Elena, Willis?
For a second, Elena. But I was wanting to hop in anyway, so I'll do that.
Go ahead. I'm a little traumatized by this. I thought this internet connection was stable, but apparently not.
So graphics cards, like Elena was saying, there's not really any good deals out there. I will just say this explicitly out loud. I do not recommend buying graphics cards during Black Friday. We actually made a conscious decision not to do like a graphics card deal roundup. The only time I would recommend you buying a graphics card right now is if you have a whole new system you're building from scratch and you need a graphics card right now. You can't wait the month or two. Then you go take advantage of whatever deals that are around. But at this point, you're basically paying the same prices for these cards that you've been paying for 2 years. They're taking standard little $30 rinky-dink discounts off the top, trying to move what they can before all this new generation comes out. So honestly, just completely avoid graphics cards if you can help it.
Like high-end, low-end, mid-range, across the top to bottom. Yeah.
All of it's good.
Yeah.
It's really stagnant.
Look, if you're building a new machine right now and you have an integrated GPU, just plug that thing in for a month and then get in the 5000 series line, right?
This is like I've been working here, I think 12 years, almost 12 years, 13, something like that. Doing all the Black Friday stuff. I'm the graphics card guy. This is only the second time in history that we're just like, hey, we're not even going to bother doing a graphics card roundup for Black Friday because I don't think it's worthwhile. The other time being during the pandemic when, if you want to pay $500 for a $100 GPU, go ahead, fine. But this is the only other time, like in a normal scenario, it's not worth it.
I guess.
Elena, back to you.
Oh, I hope I get to stay here. Gosh, now I'm kind of scared.
Did somebody
All
pick
right.
up the phone, Elena, and like heard the mad modem noises?
The retailers are cutting
Yeah.
Elena off.
Maybe. God, that brings me back. Will. Someone picks a phone in the house. They're like, "Get off the phone! I need to make an actual phone call."
Somebody's trying to call me. Mom, make him get off the phone. Yeah, no, that's terrible.
Yeah.
You were talking about cases though. You were talking about the fractal cases on sale.
The Fractal Terra. So that's the mini ITX case. Metal. I think it's sandwich layout, if I remember right.
Yeah, it's sandwich, and
pretty.
you can shift it. Like Adam actually had a 4090 and a 9800 X3D in his last week doing some testing for a video that'll be up soonish. I don't know if it might be, next week probably, I guess. But it holds a lot of hardware is the upshot.
Yeah, I really love mini, not mini, but like small form factor builds now. Like before, I used to be kind of a game of Tetris, and now I think cases in general, I'm just kind of a tangent, but I think cases in general, manufacturers have gotten so much like smarter about their designs. It's a gift to those of us who are not gifted with Tetris style layouts, right? So it makes building so much easier, and it makes it easier to downsize to some things like that if you want to spend the money for mini ITX. Anyway,
I wondered, have you seen anything on back connector cases and motherboards this year?
I haven't been looking, but it hasn't really hit my feed, so I think that's still pretty niche in terms of both interest and like from my opinion, something has to reach a certain amount of popularity for there to be sales, right?
Yeah.
Like it has to be ubiquitous enough that there's going to be a point where the manufacturers are like, oh, like we're going to replace this with a new model, so let's just like kind of clear out the stock, or we want to get people buying our stuff, so we'll reduce it. But I think when it's like more niche, it's not really that incentive to do it because they're not reproducing it in such mass quantities that they can probably afford to do that.
Makes sense. Any other cases?
Not that I've seen currently. I mean, there are a couple of good prices. Like there's like a DIY PC, I think that's the brand, where it's similar to the Montech X3 mesh case that I liked, where it's like $7 cheaper, and you also get RGB fans. So you may see that appear in a feature I write if I write it this year. But not a ton of like, oh, that's crazy, where it's like, oh, it's $20 for that case, and normally it's $80. I haven't seen that yet. I have to go rifling through the ad scans and other things that I normally keep track of. I've been a little busy with other Black Friday coverage. I haven't really looked as deeply into computer components. So this is more of like a general take on by category. So like, yeah, graphics cards, meh. Cases, kind of as usual. If your favorite goes on sale, congratulations. If not, you're not picky, you can probably find something at a pretty decent price. I would say motherboards and CPUs I'll cover at the end because that's probably the most juicy for discussion. Power supplies, again, this year looking pretty slim pickings in terms of what's available for sale. Usually with those, it's not always a guarantee you'll get even a good one that goes on sale. Sometimes it's just like the really bottom basement. If you follow, I forget which forum it is, but there's like, I think that's maybe Linus Tech Tips, where they actually have it ranked because the community actually went and found out who produces the actual like power supply, so they can actually say like how confidently how they feel about the quality of it,
like
as opposed to just being like the brand and the label. Or no, but like kind of like Superflower produces this. Oh no, are we cursed today? We just lost Brad.
We lost Brad. Oh no, the whole system is falling apart. Adam goes away for 1 week and everything goes to hell.
Zoom's having problems.
Yeah, everybody's getting their pre-Thanksgiving Zooms on. But yeah,
just totally crashed for me.
Brad's back. And then Elena went away.
No.
Oh, it's just the preview.
Oh, I'm back.
I was gonna say that the power supply is one of those things that like that feels to me like a thing that I don't want to get a good deal on a power supply. I want to get a real reliable power supply from 100% reputable thing. Like I'm scared of a power supply deal, I think. Right? I want like the workhorse.
About I'm not talking about Gordon's like $300 cardboard special where he's like, I'm gonna get a case. I don't think they don't even do this anymore. Not really. So like for Gordon to be like, I'm gonna buy a case that comes with a power supply. I'm just like, Gordon, why? He's like, it'll be fine. I'm like, Gordon, why? This doesn't make any sense. You love the most high-end hardware possible, and then you're also advocating for this as a strategy. Well, I don't get you sometimes, dude.
Gordon's theory of power supplies has had, like, he used to be very much like, oh, here's this PC power and cooling power supply that's like for industrial use on a factory floor that's going to give you 100% power output at 95 degrees Fahrenheit, and like, so he's evolved over the years with his power supply choices. What else we got? Should we talk about what's the next most interesting topic, I guess?
I want to talk about power supplies for a second now that Zoom is working.
Yeah. Power supplies, just to add on real quick, though. I don't know what Brad's going to say, but just real quick. When I recommend a power supply deal, it's usually from a reputable brand. It's just more that if you are a power supply connoisseur, a brand may not use the same, like, I don't know what they call them, like a white label manufacturer, right? Like for a particular line, like each line might be different. So that's why people who are more discerning about what kind of power supply they have, they create these lists so that way they can say like, oh yeah, like Corsair's top tier is really good at this level, but like, skip these tiers for Corsair because it's made by a different
Gotcha.
Whatever.
That makes sense.
Yeah. And I just wanted to say that even though I said just don't buy a graphics card now, I think if I was in shopping preparing for a new PC, I would look at picking up a new power supply that has those fancy new 12-volt high power connectors and whatever they're called these days. Even though the deals aren't that great, I'm personally like extremely terrified of the potential for tariffs affecting these things. Especially just yesterday, the president-elect was talking about imposing 25% tariffs on Mexico. And a lot of our technology stuff actually comes up through Mexico. Like that's where it's assembled and brought up. So I personally, if I was building a computer, I'd be looking to pick up a 12-volt high power supply.
And probably 800, 1200 watts, depending on your CPU and video card choices.
Yeah. It just, NVIDIA's entire lineup switched to that already. Yeah, you can use the adapters, but they are fugly as hell in real life. Like they are way too short and they're nasty looking. If you care about aesthetics whatsoever, I would get one of those power supplies.
Yeah. So I think that's a good, look, it's the tariff situation is a big question mark on all of this stuff, because it could be that your Black Friday deal is this plus another 20%, depending on how things actually fall out in the spring.
So if you have something that you are hoping to buy soon, I would consider stocking up. Mark Hochman, actually, the dude we were talking about last week, he did a really good article talking to a bunch of analysts and citing different sources, looking at the potential impact on potential tariffs on tech consumer prices. So I recommend going and reading that and maybe thinking about maybe stocking up this year if you have any big computer purchases you're planning on making in the next year or so.
Yeah, and even for stuff that's assembled here, a lot of the bits and pieces are like hot water heaters were the example I saw on something the other day. The bits are all assembled here in factories around the country, but they're the individual bits that go into the hot water heater are all built and then imported from usually through Mexico from Southeast Asia. So anyway,
for the tech industry especially, like when we started getting into the geopolitical things, didn't want as many factories in China and stuff, the U.S. government, a lot of those companies moved the assembly factories to Mexico, particularly for the tech industry.
Yeah.
So just be aware.
So speaking of stocking up, so Brad, you said, if we were to buy other PC components, GPU aside, if people were to buy RAMs, SSDs and whatnot, and like my worry is if we're holding off until January, February, whenever the newest GPUs are available, like what are some of the worries about return policies for some parts, some of the parts that may be that you find defective or it's not right for you? How would people strategize working around that?
Well, you asked me, but I think Elena would be.
Elena, yeah.
So if I understand the question correctly, you're worried that the tariffs could affect return policies?
More like if I'm buying everything, other components now, and then waiting until January, February to buy GPU. The other parts, if I find it defective, like say some vendors might have like 30-day return policies. So then what happens then if it's like, oh, well, you waited this long and you didn't test some of these parts out, like.
Well, the return policy will dictate what you can. I think that we're conflating a couple of things, which is if you have a defective product, that should be covered as a like you shouldn't get charged open box and restocking fees if it's a defective product, right? So like let's say you're still in your return window and your return window went to January 31st. So like let's say on January 15th you take it out of the box and it doesn't work, or a week later it dies, right? You're like, okay, I just want to return this wholesale. The retailer should take it back because it is a defective product, and then you're still within your return window. I mean, if you're worried about this, obviously read the return policy before you buy from the store, but typically that's how most reputable stores work. Now, if your return window closed on January 31st and you're using this product and on February 15th it dies, then that would be covered under your warranty, right? So then if you bought let's say, they don't do that anymore. I can't say EVGA. Let's say you buy a Sapphire graphics card. Then you would reach out to Sapphire and say, hey, my card's acting weird. I think I need to RMA it, or I need you to walk me through this, right? So that those are the two scenarios, and then that should be covered. I don't think that really changes the strategy for buying and holding during Black Friday.
Right. Okay.
Yeah. The big one is that if it conks out and you're in the return window, the vendor, the retailer usually will just say, hey, take this back and we'll send you a new one, or give you your money back, depending. But you shouldn't have any additional charges or anything.
Correct.
Right.
Okay. So we got power supplies. We're going to talk. Oh, sorry, Will's.
No, we're good.
Okay. Anything else on we're power supplies? What's next, Elena? What's next on the list?
We talked about SSDs already, I believe, right?
We haven't. Well, a little bit, but not. There's some pretty good deals on 4 terabyte SSDs that I saw.
Inflation.
Yeah.
It's interesting this year. I would say most of the good deals are concentrated in the 1 to 2 terabyte range, which I feel like is a stagnation, because usually in previous years, it kind of like it all trickles down, right? So after a certain point, 240, 250 SSDs kind of became negligible. People don't really buy them as much, and like their price is kind of stuck in like say the low 30 range, 20 to 30 range. 500 gigabyte SSDs are starting to kind of go that way as well. They're kind of stuck in the like 35 to 45 range, which when you look at the 1 terabyte SSD deals makes them less appealing, right?
Yeah.
But for 1 terabyte, we haven't seen that push down yet. And I think it's because SSD NAND manufacturers are like, hey, we're going to actually be bumping up prices again. So we're kind of stagnated. So that 1 and 2 terabyte SSDs are where the best sale prices are. I'm not actually seeing as many even 4 terabyte deals this year. We saw one fleeting 8 terabyte SSD deal this year, but it was gone actually quite quickly. So I guess the people who need that much storage just like snap that up real quick.
Was that a SATA or an NVMe?
No, NVMe.
Oh, wow.
So it was Western Digital Black, I think SN850X, don't quote me on that. 8 terabyte, 550, which is a really good price for that capacity and that amount of, for that particular line. But yeah, mostly 1 terabyte and 2 terabyte, and honestly, compared to last year, not as exciting, but they're solid prices for how much prices went up this year. So like if you look at, price charts, like historical tracking over time, you will actually see that like it kind of creeps up after December of last year, and like especially around January, February, and kind of holds. And then now we're seeing it kind of come back down a bit, but it's not even dropping as much as we saw even like in early January of this year.
The other thing that changed I noticed this year is that the little baby, the 2230 SSDs that go in the Steam Deck and some of those handhelds are much more widely available now than they were before, and thus there's a little more like I'm seeing like 1 terabyte 1 terabyte, or sorry, 2 terabyte rather, 2230 SSDs for Steam Deck that are like $130 now, $140, which is pretty good. Feels pretty good to me. It's not like all-time lows, but they're more available now than they were before. So if you have one of those launch 512 gig, 256 gig Steam Decks, this might be your time to upgrade.
It's interesting because I actually saw some better prices on that form factor, that length, than was it 2280 length? So just as a note to everybody, if your motherboard supports that, like if it has like different like lengths where you can like screw that in, you can still use it. Like you're not restricted to only one length if your board will support different lengths, and most of them do. Typically do. Yeah. So just FYI, if you see a good price on that little itty bitty, was it 2230 version, and you're like, oh, that's a good price, I would just stick it in my normal desktop PC. But if your motherboard supports it, go ahead and do it. Yeah, like that's a better price than like the other SSDs you're considering.
Do you all track hard drive stuff?
Of those.
Oh, sorry.
I was gonna say there's not a ton of those, but I'm definitely seeing more of that pop up. Like not like before, it was just only Corsair, and I think this time I actually saw Western Digital get in on the sale action, not to the same degree as Corsair, but they're discounting. Amazon
has like Sabrent and Corsair and Western Digital right now, and they're not all on sale, like on huge sale, but they're bigger sales. Like those have not been under full retail for that I've seen. Like I kind of keep an eye on those, and it seems like there's movement this year in a way that there wasn't before.
Yeah.
Do you all track regular hard drives? Yeah.
I have actually lessened a bit on how much I'm tracking those because those prices have been a little bit more stagnant over the last few years. So I tend to just keep an eye out now for what seems to be like a good price for that particular capacity, right? So I'm not sure if it's still live. I haven't had a chance to refresh the roundup today, but there was like a external hard drive, like a desktop, backup drive, 14 terabyte. Had a good price, but the others didn't. So I only mentioned that one because obviously I'm only going to cover the decent deals. But whereas in the past, I would feel like you would see a lot more of those hard disk drive type deals, they seem to be less fruitful now because I think most people are kind of switching over to just SSDs. And like those of us who are data hoarders, shout out to that subreddit, aren't as numerous, so there's probably just not as much demand for the hard drives, therefore maybe not so much of a compulsion for them to put them on discount. But mostly the prices like seems kind of stagnant, like they maybe drift down by like a few dollars during like year over year over the sale periods. But like I keep track of NAS drives, right? Like specifically like Western Digital red drives, and they haven't really changed a lot in price over the last few years.
Well, the thing that I'm sure you know about ShuckStop. It's shucks.top, and it's like a price tracker for external drives that you can shuck to jam in your NAS.
Oh, so you can shuck them? Yeah.
And they do like a compared tracking, and it's weird because what always seems to happen is the smaller capacity drives, like the 14 terabyte Western Digital Elements or an Easy Store. Like the prices on those, the all-time best prices are still like a year and a half ago, right? But the 20 terabyte drives are getting now to the point that like you can get a 20 terabyte Easy Store for $250, which is an all-time low as far as I'm aware. I think that's at Amazon, but I'm not 100%.
I've checked that.
Yeah, and that seems to be like it seems like the deals aren't in 14 and 16 terabytes now, but in 20 and 22. 22 there's not deals, 24 there's not deals really, but 20 maybe is the sweet spot. The sweet spot has shifted bigger. So your next NAS will have more storage than your current NAS, I guess. Let's see what else we got. We've talked about storage. I
got one.
Oh yeah. What you got, Brad?
Oh, I'm super excited for the OLED monitor deals this year.
Oh, yeah.
They're still not going to be like an impulse buy. They're still going to be several $100s, but OLED monitors look so damn good. Like once you play on those, you're not going to want to play on anything else. And throughout the course of this year, we've started to see some pretty good deals on them. for what they are. Like monitors that cost $1,000 to $1,500, you can usually find them on sale for $500 or $600 off. So you can get them for. Occasionally, you'd see 650. These are the ultra wide ones. Normally, you'd normally see them right around $700. But in the couple of weeks, the last week or two, we're starting to see those ultra wide ones drop down to 600-ish bucks, which is 100 plus less. It's half the price of what it used to be. But even more exciting, we're already seeing deals for standard OLED monitors getting down to $500 last week. And we're like, wow, let's do a post on this because we're all OLED nerds. And this is the cheapest OLED we've ever seen. And then this week, that got usurped. We've already seen a $400 OLED monitor deal, which is absolutely unheard of until this week. So I have a feeling we're going to see the dam break during Black Friday to some extent. If I can pick up an OLED monitor for $400 or less, I'm absolutely jumping in because I missed it the other day.
How do we feel about using like a relatively small 4K TV as a monitor? Is that something that we're down with for people who are playing games mostly, or is that not so much?
I'm into it. Like a lot of people used to do that with the LG C1, I believe it was the very first one, because you can get it at 40-something inches. To me, like playing, because you still got to sit fairly close to this thing. 41 inches is just too big. I've tried doing that, but I know a lot of people who swear by it. So
yeah, I feel like those people tend to also do like more like video, like editing type stuff. So maybe like for them, it's not so weird to have like that much on the screen, right? Like they need that.
That is a good call though, because I've seen some OLED TV deals this week.
Yeah.
You get OLED for as cheap as like $350.
Yeah, I saw a 50-inch LG, like a nice 50-inch LG OLED for like $550 or something the other day, and I was like, that is pretty tempting.
I think I found one on Best Buy, which is not always like the cheapest, but for Best Buy there was like a $600 LG.
Yeah,
I think this year's model, one of their that was released this year rather, because they have multiple OLED lines. But yeah, it's getting pretty good. I will say that it only took me 20 years to get what I wanted, which is I remember having this conversation with a friend like 20 years ago where I said, why can't we have monitors that replicate CRT technology, but slimmer, like these new flat screens that are coming out? They're like, it's in the pipeline. And I looked at it and I was like, well, that's probably 15 years out.
Off by 5.
This is actually like a really great year for monitors in general, even though we're mostly doom and gloom about most categories. Like if you haven't upgraded your monitor in a few years, because a lot of people don't. Like I'm a monitor enthusiast personally. I have lots of monitors, but if most people upgrade them like you do when you do your fridge. Hey, my fridge broke. It's time to buy a new one. Over the last 5 or so years, monitor technology has advanced so far. Like the screens you can get are so much faster, so much crisper, so much, you can get HDR, you can get OLED, you can get all this stuff if you want to spend up. But even if you don't, you can get a baller ass monitor for under $150 that has an IPS panel, does 144 hertz. It looks good. And that is one category where deals are great this year. So if you haven't upgraded your monitor in a while, this is the year. Go poke around.
I will say,
in general.
Yeah, I just got it. Like my daughter was using an old Dell 2405 that I pulled out of the garage when she was like, "Hey, can I have a real computer, Dad?" 2 years ago, and I was like, "Yeah, but I'm not going to buy you a monitor until we see if you actually use this thing." And I bought for like $70 an Acer 24-inch. It's just 1080p, but it's adaptive frame rate up to 144 hertz, and it was like $75, $79, something like that. It's not as cheap today, but yeah,
$75 for that is worth it all day.
Yeah, and it's white and it has a little tiny stand, so she's like, it's all the things that she wanted, which I'm stoked about. There's a lot of good monitor deals.
You can also probably get her a cheap arm for that too. I've been not currently right now during Black Friday, but just year round. Like you can get like a monitor arm for like $20.
Oh yeah.
And sometimes they're like gas too. So like it's not just like manual, like you have to like change the height on it with a lot of effort.
Yeah.
And swearing.
I have an old Ergotron that I'm not using right now that I could, but it's a wall mount and single wall Northern California houses. Yeah. Oh, Lena lost audio. But okay, so What monitors? Anything else on monitors, Brad? You feeling like you're just out hunting for that ultra wide OLED?
Go get one. Yeah, that's it. Go get one. I'm personally hunting for OLED, but if you haven't upgraded your monitor forever, go get one. That $75 monitor you were just talking about would be a huge upgrade for a lot of folks.
Yeah.
Well, time to submit a request to my boss for a new monitor.
Does that work? Can I send a request to my boss for a new OLED monitor?
Yeah. Just you need.
Can I insert something real quick?
Yeah.
Oh, sorry. I'm sorry. I think something's like desynced a little bit in terms of timing with Zoom, so sorry about that. I was going to say too, it's not directly related, but since we mentioned TVs, I will say if you need a cheap TV, now is like it's a really good time to buy. It's ridiculous how cheap TVs have gotten to.
It's
like
like
if you
this
don't
week in
need
Super
like the
Bowl.
most like deep blacks, yeah, there's like you don't need like the deepest blacks or like the most like color accuracy, and you just need something like for a guest room, or you don't care a lot and you just want to replace that because you're normally on your monitor, that's where you spent most of your money. So cheap, just a couple $100, like $200 or $300, you can get like a decent sized TV. And like
Yeah.
crazy.
Yeah, I look at the old 1080p set hanging in my bedroom and I'm like, I should, maybe it's time. Brad, I'll tell you, I'll approve your G9, your Samsung G9 monitor if you approve mine, which is just one hand washes the other. I think is how that goes, right?
I'm in.
What else we got? You want to talk about other? Let's see. We haven't done motherboards and CPUs yet. Do you want to do some other components? Is anything? Memory. Are you going to sing the song?
So memory is super cheap right now. I mean, not super cheap. It's just been going that way. It's like one of those quiet things where you could just count on it, just kind of dropping steadily the way we were able to for storage in previous years. So if you are in a DDR4 system and you've been looking to expand because you're like me and you're like, I'm just gonna have five browsers open with multiple tabs because why not? Why not have 64 gigs of RAM in my system? Like now's a great time to buy and upgrade that. It's quite affordable. DDR5 has also come down. So if you want to hit that like sweet spot, I was looking earlier this morning at DDR5 6000. And I think 32 gigs was around $75. So obviously not as cheap as DDR4, which is around, I want to say like 35, 40.
You get that with Happy Meals. Right
I got double check.
Yeah, you get the right Happy Meal. Yeah.
So cheap. And we'll talk about that in a second too with the whole Happy Meal bundle thing. But if you need to upgrade. If you don't need to upgrade, it could drop further. With the caveat asterisk, like who knows how tariffs will affect different component prices. Probably won't hit RAM as hard, but you need to buy it. If you don't.
Well, and like power supplies, an extra set of RAM for your main computer is one of those things that I don't mind having a spare around if the price is right. And like $70 is in that firm sweet spot for what I'm willing to pay to have an emergency backup, so that when something because like those are the two things that are going to conk out, and having a spare is real nice. So
you take on your whole system.
Yeah, and also
go ahead.
Sorry, go ahead. I was just going to say the DDR5 6000 is kind of the sweet spot on performance and stability from what we've been testing internally here for the last year and a half. Like you can get faster, and it works for some people. It might be problematic for others. So, but 6000 seems pretty universally safe across both AMD and Intel. And so, yeah, that's like, it's a good place to start.
Root tip.
Yeah. I was just going to add, it's not just non-RGB RAM. So if you like the lights, the prices on those have also come down quite a bit too. Still more expensive, obviously, than non-RGB RAM, but you don't have to pay that much for premium to get your light show fix in.
Cool. Anything else on RAM?
No.
That's
pretty quick for like in terms of what I have for updates. I'm ready for the main event. I have saved it for last because I feel like there's a lot we can talk about with this.
Yeah. Okay. Let's go. What do you got? Oh, hold on. Do we want to do a couple other small things first? Should we talk about software real quick? Because software.
We can. I haven't looked at a lot of deals for software yet. That's kind of next on my list for things I'm catching up on for the week. But since you spoke about Adobe, there's a pretty decently popular, as you know, it's kind of like the whole like Intel AMD market share thing, where it's like an alternative to Photoshop is still not going to be as big or popular as Photoshop, but it's still big for being an alternative, right?
Yeah.
So Affinity is doing a Black Friday sale as well, 50% off. And for these, it's a license for just like that version. So you don't have to pay in perpetuity for a subscription. I have read that for a decent number of people, they like this as an alternative because it felt more natural to them to transition from Adobe over to Affinity software. So right now you can buy a one platform license for like 50% off for only the photo equivalent, only the InDesign equivalent, only I think the Illustrator equivalent, or you can do like an all-inclusive bundle like license for, I think this is version 2 of their software for all platforms for I think around $85.
And
so if that's the thing.
Yeah. It's fabulous. Yeah, I've used these for years, all 3 of them. And it's pay once is the important thing. It's not an annual subscription for $85. It's $83 to get all 3 of their main core applications across all platforms too. So that's the nice thing is if you have an iPad and you do like illustration and drawing and stuff on the iPad, you can use it there and then use it on your PC. And if you have Macs, I don't know anybody here who would have a Mac. That seems unlikely, but it's a possibility.
I do.
I wish that they did a video editor and an audio editor too. I would pay more money to them every year for video and audio editors as well. Highly recommend them. But I was also going to say the Adobe deal is going too now. So if you have, I've had good luck. I haven't paid full price for Adobe software in like 10 years at this point. Because what you do is you call them and you say, hey, I'm going to cancel. And then they say, well, please don't cancel. What can we do for you? And I'm like, well, you're doing this deal right now. It looks okay. And then they say, oh, well, the deal's only for new customers. You're like, well, okay, I'll just kill my account and then I'll sign up for a new account and sign up for the first time deal. And they're like, well, you don't have to do that. Okay, here's the deal. It's only good for a year. And then you call them back the next year and put a reminder in your calendar that says, hey, call Adobe. But what I will tell you, and it's $359.88 is the deal versus $650 some dollars. The thing that a friend of the show, Arthur Gies, told me on Blue Sky yesterday that he does is you can buy from Amazon and Newegg and Best Buy digital codes for a year of Creative Cloud. So what you do is you just never give Adobe your credit card number and you buy those codes and then you just buy the code every year at the Black Friday time. And
that's clever.
Same outcome, but without having to call customer support and jump through those hoops every year. So
yeah. It's like,
so that's what I got.
Actually we have a roundup going on VPN deals too. Not everybody needs a VPN, but if you do, this is a great time of year to buy. Like it's super duper cheap to get a VPN on Black Friday. Me, I don't need one. I know a lot of people do. So have at you if you are. And since you brought this up, this is going to sound a little bit shilly. I'm honestly not trying to be shilly. I'm trying to point everybody to good deals. Like, you can't find it really easily from our main website. But if you Google PCWorld software store, we have a software store where you can buy, like, it's all legit software, discounted AV and stuff like that. But particularly, we have ultra cheap Windows license deals year round for Windows 10, Windows 11, Home, Pro, you name it. They are way cheaper than you will find most other places. I wouldn't be surprised if those guys are going to run some sort of discount for Black Friday. So it might be worth checking out. You can also get Office, the standalone versions, real cheap in the PCWorld software store. Like Office 2024 just came out like last month. It's $150. You can get it for $120 on our software store. And again, it's legit licenses. The people that we work with just really try to target the kind of stuff that we care about on PC.
That's like the
Yo, hat off.
the Windows 11 full license is $80 right now, 60% off on the store. That's awesome.
It even goes on sale further. Like there have been a couple of years where it's gone down to as low as I want to say 30 for the Pro license.
That's incredible. The
$80 one is the Pro license. You can get the Home license for $50 or $60.
Yeah. Yeah. And the upgrade licenses are cheaper if you have an existing 10 license, I assume.
Yep.
So,
yeah.
Cool.
Wasn't trying to be a shill. I legitimately think that's a good deal and just wanted to shout it out.
It's okay to promote things that are good, Brad.
Yes.
Should we talk about...
I have journalistic integrity, as Elena knows.
I was going to just jump in also and say, like, in general, software can be discounted much heavier than hardware because of, there's the base baked in cost is, not as fixed as with hardware. So you can usually get some pretty good deals on software during big sale periods like Black Friday. So I just generally recommend for people look for software they normally use or have been thinking of using to see if there's a Black Friday sale available. So like there's one that I'm considering that I got a notification for where like so Proton Mail, who also, has like a Proton Pass and Proton VPN services. They also bought Simple Login, which does email mass, and they're offering like this lifetime bundle deal, like $200 for like unlimited Simple Login and Proton Pass access. And I don't necessarily need it, but you're talking to somebody who just likes to have things. So I have been considering that. That's not a deal for everybody, but it's just more of like, keep an eye out for things like that might interest you. Cloud hosting services sometimes will do like really steep deals at this time of year. Antivirus, which you can get year round at a discount through the PC World software store, but also password managers. So if they are offering a sale to new users, you could always just see how well you roll in your charisma. Call customer service or message them to see if you can take advantage of that. Things like that. I've gotten newspaper subscriptions at a discount during Black Friday.
Yeah.
Things like that.
Like
all kinds of subscriptions. Just keep an eye out for them.
New York Times Games page. I got it at a real good deal a few years ago on Black Friday. So free cheap crosswords. Plex Pass. If you have a Plex server,
right.
They only do lifetime passes, a limited windows throughout the year. So you buy once and you never have to pay again instead of an annual fee. And it's right now it's $89 for a Plex Pass if you go to their site and use the right code. So that's that beats $5 a month forever.
Nice.
So yeah. Hey, we got a super chat from Coffee for $6.99 Canadian. Thanks, friend of the show, Coffee.
Thank you.
Says, Will, I do the same dance as you do with Adobe, but with my ISP. Amazing price. I was going to say, ISP and cell phone vendors, when they do deals, you can also call if you're off contract, especially with cell phones. You can call and be like, hey, I want the deal. And they might, like, if you're on the same plan, they'll often just give you the deal if you complain. Same thing for your ISP. So that is a great shout out.
I've switched to buying my phones outright the last couple cycles. Again, like Elena saying, privilege, whatever. I hate having monthly bills. I hate subscriptions.
Yeah.
But being off the plan completely and just being like, hey, man, I want that deal. They're a lot more prone to give it to me now. I've done that several times. Because I'm like, cool, I'm just going to go to AT&T instead. Can you unlock this for me? And they go, whoa, you can have the deal.
And same thing applies. Yeah. Same thing applies if you buy your phone like from Apple or through the, even if you're doing the payment plan through Apple and Google or whatever, then you still have an unlocked phone. And as soon as your phone's unlocked, they have no leverage over you anymore, it turns out. So, yeah.
Mm-hmm. I actually think this is a good time of year for cell phone plan arbitrage as well, where you can basically get like, I haven't seen it as good this year, but Mint Mobile used to do this thing where they would give you 3 free months. Right. So you'd pay $45, for example, for their 5 gig a month plan, and you would get an extra 3 months on top of that. So it comes out to like $750 a month, right? So it's half off basically. So you do that for half a year, and then you're like, well, time to see what my next deal is, and you just kind of like roll that cycle, because for Mint Mobile, I think they consider you a new or maybe like returning customer after like 45 or 90 days. So you go off somewhere for another like 3 months to half a year, and you can do it again every year, as long as you get good reception, right?
Wow.
But there's all kinds of things you can do with Black Friday deals like this. Like, as regulars of the show, I use Black Friday to stock up on essentials like my socks. It's just like I can get a good deal on them.
Look, if you like nice socks, you got to go out, you got to take advantage of those sales, man.
I know merino wool is really expensive.
Yeah.
But we're not here to talk about socks for now. We are here to finally get to what I think is the most exciting part of the component deals this year, which is, damn, AM4 is on sale.
Main event.
Like, damn.
Yeah. Like, so crazy good AM4 prices.
I don't know if you've been looking. Yeah, I don't know if you've been looking, but there have been some insane prices, especially this is the year of combo deals. I haven't seen this in a while, and I genuinely got excited. So there's, I think the most noteworthy currently that's active is the 5700 X3D bundle deal through Newegg. So for $300, you get the chip, a motherboard, and 32 gigs of DDR4 3600. So that's so basically you buy the CPU and they just, as a gift to you, they include 32 gigabytes of G.Skill Ripjaws 5, I want to say, DDR4, 3600 RAM. And then when you add a specific motherboard, I believe this one's the MSI Game B550 Gaming Plus. That's an ATX board. No Wi-Fi, if I remember right. So if you want Wi-Fi, you have to add on a module. You add that to your cart, and then you get combo discounts. So it knocks it all down to a total of $300. I have a screenshot of this. It's fantastic. So if you are looking to upgrade that whole set, so like maybe your graphics card is good, then that's a pretty affordable, solid upgrade if you want a gaming CPU.
I think,
unfortunately, if you're building a new system with GPU prices being what they are during Black Friday, it's not as exciting to build a whole new system with this bundle. I actually tried with PC Part Picker this morning.
Micro Center has a 5700 X3D at $179, but it's out of stock. I don't know if you can order that and have it delivered later with them, but look, no, you just add it to the list.
That's price for the chip, I think,
just the chip,
on
yeah.
Newegg. Yeah, so that's why it's like cool to get these bundle deals because you're basically getting motherboard and RAM with it for $300 total.
Whenever I need to build a new PC from scratch, I've done this several times in my life. I wait for Black Friday specifically for those bundle deals.
Yeah, the bundle's nuts.
The combo is great. So basically, if you're building AM4 and you already have, so either you're upgrading on an AM4 board, or you're looking only to replace your CPU, motherboard, I guess possibly RAM as well, because you're already set with your graphics card. Now is a really good time if you're okay with being on an AM4 platform. I know we've had this conversation in the past where, especially Gordon's like, it's a dead platform. But the thing is, you get so much value out of it still. Like you are still getting really solid frame rates for gaming. You are still getting pretty decent, rendering out of these chips if you don't need absolute blistering fast, right? So let's say you are now doing more video editing, maybe because of personal projects or whatever, and you want to replace an old second gen Ryzen part. Well, you can still use your motherboard. There's a 5900X that was on sale, not anymore, but earlier, like last week, maybe a week and a half ago, for $225.
Wow.
So you could have just done the BIOS update and then dropped in your new chip. You know what I mean? Let me get my document out because I was taking notes because I was so excited by all of this.
The
5900X for $227. Sorry, what?
No, I was just saying we talked about this a couple weeks ago, and you were kind of unsure how this was going to fall out, if there's going to be anything. So I'm excited that this actually happened. Sure. Yeah.
No, I wasn't sure at all. I was just like, well, it's AMD has pulled out all the stops again this year. I don't think I've been this excited for AMD deals since that time that they put the 2700X on sale for $140 at Micro Center. I was super excited about that one. I know sometimes AMD listens to this podcast, so thanks again. That was a really fun year. So if you don't need, I guess I'll start with the top ones. So there's that 5700 X3D bundle deal. That's fantastic. But if you don't need that much for your gaming and you just want a reasonable, not reasonable, but a more affordable but still solid upgrade or solid move up to Ryzen 5000, you can also do a Ryzen 5700X bundle for $210. And it's not quite as good because last week they were bundling that same G.Skill RAM with it, so you got 3600 MT speed, but now they're bundling Corsair 3200, so not quite as good because it's not that sweet spot. But you get 32 gigabytes of that. You get the 5700X, and then I chose a different board for bundling, and this one has Wi-Fi. So depending how you feel about ASRock, I know a lot of people have mixed feelings about ASRock. I've used them in the past. I haven't had problems with them personally. But you can get a B550M, so micro ATX. No, wait, that's different. That's my alternative. Never mind. So this is an ATX board, comes with Wi-Fi, $90 on its own, but with the bundle, it's $210. So you get the RAM, the motherboard, and the 5700X for $210 before tax.
That is crazy.
Not bad.
Does the Ryzen 5700X have integrated graphics or no? I can't remember how that. I can't remember how
So
it works on that side.
They don't.
You need
need something to pair with it.
Yeah.
So this is more ideal, like I said, if you're looking to just upgrade your CPU side of things in your build, like you're already set with the GPU, or you're willing to buy like the absolute dirt cheapest, like just I need graphics until I'm ready to buy a gaming card type thing.
Look, that's
or upgrading.
That's my kid wants a computer, and you have an old video card in the drawer that you're going to drop in for him, right? Like that. That
was going to be what I say. To me, this is perfect for the first gaming PC for somebody who's going to hop on there and play a bunch of Valorant or League of Legends or whatever.
I mean, look, if the Battlemage rumor is right and it hits that card we were talking about earlier today hits that same price, then you're looking at $400 for a really really decent 1080p machine potentially, and how that perf works out. That's
for the core components. Yeah,
that means you can build a core component. I guess you need a $50 case, right? And then you're looking at a
cardboard like Gordon.
Yeah, just put on the box. It's fine probably, and a power supply, or just you get the case that has the power supply built in. You're good to go, and you're looking at a pretty good gaming machine for what a PS5 costs, right? Like that's
exactly.
compelling. Yeah,
it's really good. There is an alternative. So strangely, there's no 5600G deals this year so far. I'm waiting to see what happens on Black Friday, like Thanksgiving, Black Friday. They could drop it. I'm guessing they won't, though, based on how everything else has basically dropped in the Ryzen 5000 series. But there has been deals, and there is an existing deal right now on the 8600G. So it's a little more expensive because AM5 boards aren't quite as cheap as AM4 boards. But I put together, so let's see, what did I do here? I put it together with a B650M, so a micro ATX board. Also has Wi-Fi. So that came out to $265. You still have to buy RAM, so that's another about $75. So it's a little more expensive overall for that set, but because it has the integrated graphics that also can do maybe Fortnite, 1080p, maybe 720p if you want better looking graphics. Like you can have a gaming PC for how much did I price this out to? I think it's about $500.
Elaine, I don't know about the face you made when you said Fortnite. You made like a stinky face there. I don't know if I appreciate that.
It's not because I dislike the game. It's just because I always feel a little awkward using other people's references that I haven't played Fortnite myself. So I always feel a little weird when I say something where Brad has told me this. So I know it's legit. It's just I always get a little someone asks me a follow-up question. I don't know if I'm gonna be able to answer it.
Well, the weird thing about Fortnite is that they make the Switch renderer available to PC players if you crank it down to, I think they call it performance mode. Is that right, Brad? And it'll run on the most potato PC you own in that performance mode. Integrated graphics. Like you want to run it on a netbook from 2006, it's probably fine.
Ooh.
It's not true. It's not fine on a
That's
netbook.
But a fun video, actually. Yeah. I still have my 2009 netbook if you want to play with that.
Look, let's see what's the slowest computer we can make that you can still win a battle royale, a victory royale in Fortnite, and this is my January solved. This is the AM4 stuff is really exciting. I'm glad that there's deals for people who want to build machines. Is the big thing to me. I was worried with all the new CPUs landing that it was going to be a grim Black Friday on that stuff. So that there's good bundles. It's exciting.
Yeah, it's really nice. I think Amazon still has most of these on sale. Still, I didn't check all the prices, but I'll just read out. So 5600X, $105. 5600, $108. 5700, $130. 5700X, $130. 7600, $180. 7600X, $194. Um, 7700 274. So there's, if you're looking to go AM4 or even AM5, there are good prices. It's just that AM4 just looks, for me as a bargain deal type person, bargains and deals and discounts type person, AM4 is just a little more exciting. But there are some very solid AM5 deals to be had right now as well.
What about Intel? Anything on the 14th gen side now that it's fixed? Everything's totally fine. No problems there.
This may be my bias showing, but I have not been purposely seeking out Intel deals just because it's a little like, a lot of times when I'm making recommendations, it's to people who are more mainstream with their purchases. So they just want stuff that just works. So if you have like a list of caveats for them, you can just see their eyes glaze over in real time. So because I haven't been going out to seek them and I haven't seen them hit my normal feeds, I'm not anticipating a lot of stuff on the Intel side, but I'm going to be doing more research on that later on.
It's like, look, if somebody who's not a nerd hits me and is like, hey, what should I buy? I'm not going to go tell them to build an Intel machine right now, just because if they don't update the BIOS the right way, it's going to, they're going to call me in 6 months and be fairly upset with me. So I think that's fair. Yeah. Anything like what have we missed? Have we hit it? Do you want to I know there's laptops and stuff like that, AIOs. I think mini PCs, maybe anything interesting happening in mini PCs or handhelds. Those are kind of adjacent. I know it's like broad, the categories.
Before I hop into that, I just looked up Intel sales on a couple different sites, and it looks like the biggest sales are on 13th gen right now.
Oh, okay.
So you can get like a 13600K for $175, which is not bad. But the 14th gen stuff, I think, is priced a little bit too high, even with the discounts. Yeah. Especially considering all the caveats attached with them.
I mean, 13th gen is kind of affected by some of that stuff too, if I remember right. Because it's all Raptor Lake. So I was actually more excited earlier in the year, and I think Datus is in the chat. So he actually spotted a lot of this as well, where 12th gen parts were going on pretty deep discount. Maybe, I think it was October, maybe September. So that was actually more exciting to me. I would actually be more inclined if it was still available, if it went on like super deep discount, to recommend that, just because it's older, but it's more hassle-free. So if you get a super good deal on that, for people who are upgrading from like, I don't know, like an 8-year-old PC, it's still going to be really fast for them relative to that, right?
Well, and like this is the 12th gen is where the small form factors are in the really crazy good price ranges too. Like you can there's B-Link deals on Amazon right now for an Alder Lake. I think that's Intel 12, and 100, which is I think a dual core with 16 gigs of RAM, which is like a great little, like you want a little server to run Plex and stuff in your garage. They're $160, so 25% off. That seems okay.
Many PCs have been on a heater this year.
I've been on a tear right now for deals. We just wrote one up recently for, I forget which brand it was. It was either Minis Forum or was it B-Link? I think it's a Ryzen 6900 HX. It's not the newest parts, but I mean, it's still gonna be plenty fast for that little form factor.
How do you remember how much that was? Oh, that's really good. Well, I see a Ryzen 6900 HX B-Link on Amazon for $330 right now. It's a little more expensive than I want for like a Bazite kind of Steam Deck living room box. I want those to be $150, $200 at the outside, but we're getting closer, so that's exciting.
And we've been seeing some actually pretty severe discounts.
It's not a bare bones.
Yeah, sorry, this is a full deal. This is the full thing with SSD and everything. Half gig, half terabyte.
And when you're shopping for those things, you do want to look and make sure that they do have Windows installed if you're not interested in that. That's just something to look out for when you're doing your shopping. But you can find plenty of mini PCs these days with pretty powerful Ryzen 5 plus chips from this generation or last generation. For $150 to say $350, you can find them on sale for that. And they come with like 2 terabytes of storage, 16 to 32 gigabytes of RAM. You can get a lot more PC out of a mini PC than you can out of laptops these days, if that fits.
Yeah, We were just talking on the show before we went live where, Will was talking about, finding a recommendation to somebody who would be a good candidate for an all-in-one PC. But I had suggested, like, if they already have a monitor, it actually might be they might be able to get more bang for their buck by just getting one of these mini PCs and then like mounting it on the back of that monitor. So it's a similar kind of feel for the setup, but they have the option to still keep that monitor if they want to replace that PC, or like even upgrade the memory or storage a little more easily than opening up an AIO.
Well, sometimes the memory is soldered on those now, but the storage you can always there's always an NVMe slot on almost all of them at this point. What about Will? I think Willis posted a poll.
Yes,
would love to see people's answers to that, but I'm curious what your feeling is on Black Friday versus Cyber Monday, Elena. Like, do you wait? Do you buy stuff Friday? Do you just buy it and hope for the hold the return, keep those boxes unsealed?
I feel like at this point, Cyber Monday is just an extra day to the weekend. A lot of the best deals happen in the week to week and a half prior through Black Friday, in my experience now. I think Cyber Monday, because it originally started to be a counterpoint to physical in-store madness on Black Friday, used to actually have good deals online, but now I think of it more as just a cleanup day. Sometimes you can still get the deals that you saw earlier, but oftentimes it's mostly sold out, or you have to find some kind of alternative that's not quite as on deep discount. I would say Cyber Monday is actually still a decent day to buy like your general consumer electronics. So if it's in stock, it'd still be the same price, but for PC components, not necessarily the case.
Davina,
here,
go ahead, Brad. Sorry.
Here at IDG, we actually call it Black Week because honestly, a lot of the deals that you're going to see have already started. Like on Black Friday itself, a bunch of big deals don't happen anymore. They already started. And it just goes through Cyber Monday. It's all the same. If you see something that you really want at a good price, jump on it. Obviously, you don't want to hold out. But to me, Cyber Monday and Black Friday are interchangeable.
yeah.
It's weird. It's weird. I wonder if my feeling that Black Friday isn't as much of a big deal anymore is because of that. It's because it's stretched out over like a month-long period now, and it used to just be like one weekend maybe.
Yeah. Are there still people doing door-buster deal, but are people actually physically going in on Friday to buy, products or PC deals?
Some. I would say that's not always. I mean, for PC components, not as common in my experience, unless you consider Micro Center's in-store deals to be kind of that. But I think that's still more reserved for like dirt cheap TVs, dirt cheap laptops. Yeah. And I didn't really see a ton of those yet this year. I haven't gone through all the circulars yet, because I usually like to do a check of the official circulars when they release.
I feel like it
just varies from year to year, exactly what you're seeing.
Yeah, that feels like a Best Buy thing to me. I always feel like if you drive by Best Buy at 6:00 on Friday morning, there'll be people lined up there for like everything from Pokemon cards to TVs and laptops, and it's probably the stuff that we're less interested.
I know several people who still do it. Yeah, they were mostly people who used to do it back in the heyday when Black Friday meant going at midnight kind of a deal, and they just live for the thrill still. But they go do it because you can get, outside of technology, you can get like microwaves and stuff like that at real good prices. And so I know people who wait for doorbusters, specifically go to like Best Buy, Target, Walmart, just to see those doorbusters.
Yeah.
I remember back in my college days, I used to camp at Fry's Electronics.
Oh yeah,
yeah.
Your Best Buys are always at Fry's.
Yeah, Fry's or Best Buy, and I mean, I wasn't into PC building at that time, but I would buy a bunch of flash drives, hard drives for school.
Rush.
So, the Rush is fun.
What was your first flash drive?
Oh wow,
I forgot. It was either Kingston or.
Are we talking like thumb drives, like USB thumb drives?
Yeah, capacity. I'm curious what the capacity was, because mine was a 128 megabyte flash drive, and I paid so much money for it.
I found a 64 megabyte disc on key that I paid $300 for, I think, in my drawer when I was cleaning stuff out last week. I was like, this is, I could not believe how small it was. I had completely forgotten.
My first SSD ever, I think, was 256 megabytes, and I paid $500 for it.
Oh wow!
Oh, wow.
I reviewed 100 years ago one of those SSDs that you just jammed a whole bunch of sims into, like memory sims, and it was great until the power went out before it saved, and then real bad things, man. Real bad things.
Oh, the corruption.
Oh yeah,
File corruption. No,
immediately gone. The right table.
Dark.
It was like the weirdest. It was the most mixed bag review I ever wrote, I think, because I was like, look, I'm going to go ahead and tell you, you've never used a drive this fast, but there's a giant asterisk that covers the entire thing. And yeah, anyway, it was bad. It was a bad product. Davina in the chat asked about Raspberry Pis a minute ago, because it's like the small board computer is an interesting place. The thing I find on Black Friday, I haven't actually looked for. I kind of scanned Amazon and didn't see anything obvious. The deals are almost always on bundles, and unless you really want a case or don't have a way to make a case yourself or buy a case cheaper someplace else, like typically the bundles aren't a great deal because it's usually like an overpriced SD card, an overpriced USB power brick, an overpriced case, and then a bunch of cables and stuff that probably aren't going to work for the project that you want to use it for. So you're better off just buying the standalone board and then buying the case separately and using, like, digging into your USB drawer and getting a power brick out to power it or whatever. Is my advice on those. They do sales on New Year's also on Raspberry Pi stuff often, like compute modules and stuff like that. I don't know why.
Noticed that.
Yeah.
I also love buying them separate anyway, because there's so many adorable case options out there that you can do. Also, by the way, if anyone from Fractal is listening, we're still hoping that you make that Raspberry Pi case for real. I'm just saying. Just saying.
So, somebody else, I missed who it was in chat, and I have to scroll up now. But somebody else, like, if you have a 3D printer or access to a laser cutter or a friend with a 3D printer, something like that, is so easy to print cases for Raspberry Pis. It's like for a long time in the 3D printing world, it was the thing that you printed the most of, because everybody's like, hey man, I just got this Raspberry Pi. Can you make a case for me? Be like, yeah, I got you.
Sounds like a drug deal the way Will says it.
Look, Elaine, you need some cases. We got cases all day long. What color plastic you want? You want pink? You want blue? You got the gray? We got it all.
Purple.
Purple. I don't have any purple plastic. I don't. Anyway, good 3D printer deals, as somebody shouted out in the chat a minute ago. So if you're interested in trying out a 3D printer, it's a good time for that too. That's PC adjacent, I guess, right?
Yeah.
Anything else? What I feel like we've talked about, we've hit all the high points at this point. It seems like that AM4. I'm looking at that 5700 X3D. Just to have one, that feels like a classic at this point. You know, they kind of, you put that in the wall in lucite or something. But anyway, should we move on and do some turn some questions into answers?
Yeah,
Willis?
let's get some Q&A in.
I'm opening up. If you have posted, you can post questions in the chat. You can post them in the Full Nerd Discord, which is linked below in the show notes. And I think we're going to do let's see, we have a bunch of Thanksgiving related ones, which I think we'll probably close with.
Yeah, I can start one.
Yeah, you got one? Okay.
Yeah, so from Discord, friend of the show, Liquid R, asks, with credible rumors of Battlemage swirling, do you think Intel still plans on launching their GeForce Now competitor, Endgame, or do you think it's dead in the water?
That showed up in a slide. I think Raja Kaduri talked about it a couple times. Project Endgame, they called it. Raja Kaduri hasn't worked there in a few years, and I haven't heard anything about it ever since that slide happened in that rumor. So I wouldn't hold my breath over it.
I feel like the GeForce Now thing works for NVIDIA because they have an enormous amount of compute just idle a lot of the time. And I don't know that Intel is in the same exact situation. I don't know what their compute cloud overhead is, but it doesn't seem like it's quite as robust. So yeah, I don't know. I tend to agree with you on that, Brad.
If Battlemage does in fact happen, I get to talk to somebody from Intel. I will see if I can ask them that question though.
Oh, there you go.
A firm answer.
Yeah, I mean, GeForce Now, like, just to be clear, for people who don't use GeForce Now, if you don't have if you don't have like a gaming computer, but have a laptop or really anything and want to play games on, like I play Half-Life 2 Deathmatch with some friends of mine pretty much every week, and one of them has been playing on his MacBook with GeForce Now the entire time. I just found out last week, and I was like, oh wow, okay, this is amazing that you can do this, and like, yeah, it's a cool service, but
it holds up really well. It's pretty affordably priced. People know I'm into GeForce Now, so
yeah, I think the further you live from data centers, the worse it gets. But if you live in a big city someplace, you're probably pretty good. Do we want to talk? Let's see. Do we want to talk about? Here we go. Mother Sparkles says, "Hey, what about pink PC parts? Are they on the horizon? We've gotten white. We've gotten black. It's all the colors are covered. Any pink stuff and show up in the Black Friday deals this year? Not so much.
that I've seen.
I have not specifically been looking for pink parts. I think that at least in the United States, they're such a rarity that they don't really go for sale, much less on sale, alas.
Occasionally you see cases, but that's pretty much cases and keyboards maybe. But that seems like
but
it.
I think they're talking specifically about other components like graphics card and like motherboard and probably even coolers.
Yeah,
it's not pink, but we ran an article this week. It's from China, from Color Fire, I believe the company's name is, and it's cat themed, and it has a custom cat themed motherboard in there with it. So.
It's so bad.
Yeah, that was nice. With pink PC parts, like when are we going to get like a full Apple lineup of colors of PC parts? Because I feel like the trend, we were talking about this a couple podcasts ago, that white parts are being trendy right now, as opposed to black PC parts and components. When is pink gonna get its chance, or other colors really?
I don't know. There's a pretty good market in custom stuff. Mm-hmm. I know people take cases and then paint them. Same thing for coolers and maybe even fans. I don't know. I haven't seen a lot of pink fans. There's a whole article about this at rgbcustompc.com, which is a place that sells RGB custom PCs. But yeah, I think look, this is one of those things that like the niche market, the keyboard people have taken care of, right? You can get all the pink keyboards and pink keys and stuff like that you want. Because of the way the boards are manufactured, it's harder, and they have to be able to sell a whole bunch of them. And I think until somebody does it and sells a whole bunch of them, it's going to be a thing that people don't do. So.
I think keyboards is a perfect example. Actually, keyboards, they actually, if you're going in to make a custom keyboard that's pink, you're going to pay a little bit more for it. That's what you should expect. Yeah. So I've actually talked to people in the case industry about this. And they broke it down. They're like, look, man, yes, Apple will sell 5 million plus iMacs in this weird color. We're putting together this case. We're hoping to sell 1 million if we're lucky. It's a fraction of that in reality. And once you start breaking that down into colors, it gets even more complicated. Because they're like, not only do we have to have the black and the white case when we're hoping to sell, let's say, 1 million in total, we have to buy black components and get all that custom milled and stuff for that in black and white. It massively messes with the cost. So I don't think we're gonna see it anytime soon in mainstream stuff, but I'd love to see something like the keyboard industry moving to other areas as well.
Yeah, more choice is always good, right?
Wait, 1 second. I will say Thermaltake is one of the few vendors that does really embrace color. So their cases, and I think for at least some period of time they were doing fans that were different colors as well. The blades were different colors, if I remember right. But yeah, and their AIO coolers, they had some different color choices as well. So if you like color, Thermaltake is a company to look into to see if any of their stuff matches with what you're looking for in terms of actual performance. But yeah, I've always been excited whenever they have a briefing, because they always have such fun colors that they'll just bring out, and they change them over time too.
They have this fish tank, the Tower 300 fish tank style kind of case that has, it's 7 different colors. It's like sneakers. They've got 10 colorways of this thing. They've got blue, they've got matcha, which is like green and pink, matcha plum. Yeah, this is good. I didn't realize they were doing this many colors, Lena. That is a good call
Just
out.
looked on their site and they have a color that's like legit called hydrangea. And I'm like, yeah, I like whoever's in charge of their design colors.
I mean, and we've talked to case vendors about this before, like why there aren't more cases. It's because it's easy to color match black. And like every other color than that, like you get into the panels have to be painted at the same time because our eyes are really sensitive to slight differences in white, and we see like if it's just 2 shades off, you'll be able to spot that difference.
I always feel so bad when I've done like a case review or like, you know, my kind of overviews that I used to do for a while, and I would say, yeah, so the whites don't match because I mean, it's a thing that you have to tell people, but also knowing how hard it is to do that and keep costs down, it makes you feel kind of guilty too, because you're like, I know you're trying so hard to give the people what they want.
Look, I've repainted a ceiling before because I didn't stir the second can of paint well enough, and I got done and I was like, wait, there's a line halfway down the middle. Oh, that's the worst. Okay, what else we got? Willis, you got another one?
Yeah. So, also from Discord, Red Ma from the show. Do you think Alchemist affected the pricing of any AMD or Nvidia products?
To some degree, not too much, I don't think. Because we've seen AMD and Nvidia launch their $300 to $400 products, and they just stayed flat there. It was Intel who tried to launch around them, and then Intel dropped its prices. So if anything, I think AMD and Nvidia affected Intel.
Yeah, that seems right. I mean, and
I think it might be different this generation.
Yeah, I hope like more competition's good, right? We want a robust third party in the graphics card space would be exciting. Friend of the show, Coffee, put in a $2.79 Canadian cent super chat. Thank you for that, by the way. Any deal this year from Memory Card Company? I don't know this joke. This does not.
I don't know if it's a reference to something Gordon has said. That's what it makes me think of, but I
assume
I haven't been on the show enough recently to get the reference. Oh no, Coffee, you might have to explain this to us. That's so sad.
If it's a serious question, we see some pretty sick discounts on Samsung micro SDs. Actually, like you can go get some good micro SD cards right now. But that's totally a joke I don't get either.
I feel like there's a lot of like, hey, I'm gonna buy a memory card. I'm gonna buy an external hard drive on like Temu or something, and it's like, hey, it's a 1 terabyte external drive, and you plug it in, and it says, hey, I'm a 1 terabyte external drive, and then you copy 35 megabytes of data to it, and it doesn't write the last 28 megabytes. You're like, oh, This is not a 1 terabyte drive.
Go for the name brand stuff from the name brand places. That's what I try to recommend for all these.
Yeah, it's generally a good rule of thumb. Friend of the show, Cass MC says, are we going to get an Elena Black Friday wool sock counter this year?
I'll let you know what the counter is this year. I actually do need to restock this year. Last year, I didn't really buy anything because my socks are still in good condition. But this year, it was like cold in San Francisco like last week. I think it's because before the big storm that came through, there was just a lot of moisture in the air. And I was like, I need more socks. I need more socks. I'm just going to buy all the socks. So that's stuck in my head now.
Are you a brand loyalist on socks, or are you just you going out and getting specific? Do you like what are you looking? Because I love a wool sock more than I wear them year round here because it's always cold here. I'm out at the beach with my flip flops and my wool socks on. You know, don't judge. Don't judge.
Are you wearing work socks with them?
No, I don't wear socks with flip flops. That would be weird. I'm just making a joke. Don't judge me.
Dad, right?
I am a dad. I can do this. I own it. No, dads wear those black cotton, the all black with the gold toe. That's what you wear with your sandals if you're full dad mode.
Okay,
I got a full dad mode.
I ever have a Halloween costume.
Quick little story for you, actually.
Hit us.
So a lot of people know my house burned down last year. When that happened, all my socks, like half my shoes, burnt up with it. I went extreme dad mode, and I have worn nothing for the past year and a half almost, except for the flip-flops that I own and some Calvin Klein slip-on shoes. and never even bothered buying more socks because I'm like, I can get by with my slip-on loafers and my flip-flops, and it's been good. But like a month ago, I had to go to the doctor. It turns out you need support in your shoes. I got an Achilles tendon injury that turned into heel bursitis, and he's like, "You need to stop wearing these damn flip-flops already. Go buy some damn socks."
Oh,
so
no.
I just got my first socks in like 5 years last week.
Oh no.
Oh no, Brad. Yeah, you don't want that plantar fasciitis or whatever that thing is. That hurts.
Yeah. It's all good. I just thought it was hilarious.
Oh, so somebody turned me on to Darn Toughs years ago, and they're really expensive, but I have returned them a couple of times, and they send me new ones, and like I have been impressed with how they hold up.
Warranty.
Yeah.
So for brands, I go in one or two directions. I'm either a Costco Kirkland gal. So they'll have like merino wool blend socks. And I like those because they're not too thick, because I don't really like feeling like I'm just like padding around in these like really super thick socks. Or I'll get Darn Toughs because I mean Smart Wool is okay, but Darn Tough does have that like lifetime warranty, kind of guarantee on their socks. So if you shop through, I usually actually shop through like GoBros or Sock Addict. Usually GoBros because they'll include free shipping, but they'll do deals like several times a year. So sometimes I'm buying my socks not during Black Friday, but sometimes I am.
There you go. Should we do one more and call it a show? What are we? Or a couple more maybe?
There's a couple more, yeah. Let's see. There's one over on Discord again. Any product you kept off purchasing until Black Friday. In other words, which socks will Elena buy this year?
Same question. I mean, this year I think I'm gonna get another set of Costco socks if they have them, because Costco doesn't always have the same thing in stock every year. And I'll probably get another couple of pairs of the Darn Toughs, probably ankle, because I'm not one of the kids and I just can't stand the sight of like basically high socks that are just showing with like the higher ankles on the pants. And I'm just like, children, you know what? You can have this. I'm okay with looking like an old person. I just can't do this.
Do you get the little ruffle ones? Do they do the ruffle ones? Is that what you're talking about?
No, they just will wear tube socks. Unironically, with with shorts and stuff. Like, it's a thing. Like, some of my younger millennial friends are doing this, and I'm just like, I can't. This is the look that we would get bullied over when we were kids. I can't shed that trauma. I can't do it.
Wow, that's shocking. So I've been no shows for years. I might be uncool. I didn't know that.
Will, do you have anything you kept off from purchasing until Black Friday?
So I do. So I'm the opposite of Elena. I live in Pacifica and I'm right by the ocean. It's always drafty house. It's always cold. So I like a big, thick. I get these Smart Wool Expedition socks that are like the kind you wear if you're going to the South Pole or something. They're like really thick, really padded. Like, you put them in, you got to buy your boots 2 sizes too big so they have space for them. And I wear those with like a pair of slides around the house, and that's my winter slipper, because you don't want sweaty feet. I have, your slipper gets too hot, it gets all sweaty and gross in there. So I need a new pair of those. That's what I'm looking for, I think.
And balance it. I get it.
Yeah. I wouldn't wear those out though. That's not for decent company, it turns out.
Brad, do you have anything that you're holding off till Black Friday?
Mostly just what I alluded to earlier. I should not buy an OLED monitor, but there is a damn good chance that I'm going to make Visa very happy and buy an OLED monitor if I can find one for $400 or less.
Well, I was in the market for a monitor, and then I fixed the one that broke last week, and I'm like, oh, well, I'm good now. I don't have to buy a monitor.
I'm still, as I said earlier, man, I'm a monitor enthusiast, and I'm restarting my collection, and I think that would be a fine price for a fine place to start. So.
I will tell you, when I went to I was on 60 hertz panels for a long time, and I went to a high refresh rate panel. I was like, this is a dramatically different experience in terms of like games and shooting stuff, and it's real good.
It makes a difference once you get used to it. It makes a difference even on the desktop. I've had to switch to mostly using laptops at 60 hertz frames over the last year, and oh my god, even just mousing around trying to use Office or whatever is torture.
And for all the haters in the chat who are like, wait, don't you live in California? It's like 60-70% humidity and 60-mile-an-hour winds where I live on the reg. It is, in a single wall construction house. People in California don't know about insulation, right? They built these houses, they shredded up like a couple of newspapers and jammed them in the walls. And like, it's all, I have single pane glass in my house, right? Like there's people made choices when they built these houses, and it is not meant to keep you warm and cozy.
It's true. Like, I can tell people in the chat are like, come and hang out in the Midwest. And I will tell you, I've been to the Midwest in winter, in the dead of winter. And you know what y'all do? You stay at home.
Yeah, you don't leave.
Stay at home. You don't leave your house. And it makes sense, right? But we go outside and it's cold, like he's talking about, because of the wind chill factor. And it's not Minnesota cold. It's not Wisconsin cold. But it's kind of cold.
Like the difference is, I've been to Chicago in January when it's like negative 20 degrees plus wind chill, and like you feel your nose hair freeze and it feels like there's caterpillars inside your nose, right? Like Brad knows what I'm talking about. You have to be careful not to touch your beard for a while when you come inside for fear you break a chunk off. Like I have experienced real cold. The difference is when you go inside to somebody's house after that, the house is actually warm because they understand insulation and central heat there.
Yeah.
And like, I had an apartment that the windows actually didn't close here for like, I paid $2,000 a month for an apartment that you couldn't close the windows because the frames were warped. And even if you did, it was still single pane glass. So it really didn't matter all that much, right? Like it's bad.
So I got to ask, has that ever happened, Will, that a chunk of your beard fell off?
No,
came off?
So look, I was in Chicago. I used to go to this conference in Chicago that was in January every year. And they had it in January just so that you had to be hardcore if you wanted to go. So you'd go, you'd take the train in, I'd walk a couple of blocks, and I came in and like one of my friends saw me and he's like, he took a picture and he's like, don't touch your beard for a while. And I was like, wait, why not? He's like, because if like it's frozen solid all around like the mustache and mouth area where your condensation was icing up. And I was like, well, what'll happen? He's like, it'll break off. So I don't know if that's true or not. I just assume.
It is true. I've had it happen.
Yeah.
Oh,
I live in New England, so
how?
Oh.
Oh no.
Yeah.
The other one that I loved that I'd never experienced, living in a temperate area, and even when I grew up in Tennessee, which got cold, but I'd never lived someplace where the moisture from your breath when you're riding around in the car would frost on the inside of the windows when you get in the car. Yeah, that's the worst. It's literally the worst thing I've ever experienced in a car. It was awful. People shouldn't live places that are cold. Seems terrible.
I literally keep like Windex and some wipes in my glove box, so in case that starts to happen before the heat cuts on, I can squirt it and freaking wipe it.
Yeah,
so I can drive before it fully thaws.
Yeah, it seems intemperate.
I will say real quick.
Dropped an F-bomb there. I'm glad I caught myself.
Quick. To Will's point, where people might think that he's exaggerating about newspapers lining the walls of San Francisco housing, it's true. When I was in elementary school, one of my teachers was doing renovation. They opened the wall and they found newspapers from like 1920 in there, and so they brought it to class as an educational thing so we could see what like the normal prices of stuff was at that time. I still have those pages saved because it was such a cool historical like look back at that time. But they were just like, whatever, what are we gonna put in this wall? I guess we'll just use crumpled up newspaper for insulation.
Well, so my house was built in the 50s, and they didn't just crumple up the newspaper, they shredded it first. So there's just shredded newspaper all in my attic. And the best part about it is it's knob and tube wiring too. So it's like so there's basically loose wires and a bunch of paper up in the attic of all these houses out here. It's it's an expensive place to live. So it's all these dumpy, terrible $1 million plus houses that are basically tinder boxes with no insulation and no double pane glass, and like it's a bad place to live. Don't live here.
And are full of knob and tube wiring and shredded newspaper. What the hell?
Yeah, like it's amazing that anybody survives at all here. So
I hope you fix that wiring.
Don't set anything on fire in this state. It's fine.
Yeah,
it's fine.
No. We redid the wiring when we moved into our house, but the knobs and tubes are still there. So it's like, I mean, they're not hooked up to anything, but it's still. Every time I've been up in the attic, I look at it, I'm like, this seems like bad ideas layered on top of each other. Anyway, we've got a question from the Discord if you want.
Yep.
Do you want to do the stained glass one, Willis, first?
Yeah, sure. So, friend of the show, Stained Glass, asks, "What's your favorite pie? Also, what non-traditional food is a staple for your Thanksgiving?"
Ooh, this is a good one. What's a favorite pie or favorite Thanksgiving pie? Because those are two different things. I think.
All pies, yes.
True.
Yes.
Like I'm a sucker for a pumpkin pie, but I love a key lime pie when they're good.
Mm.
Yeah, that's the good stuff. Key lime's right up there for me. It's banana cream pie.
Oh, banana cream's good.
For Thanksgiving, I'll just go with good old fashioned blueberry.
Blueberry for Thanksgiving, really? Like
Yeah, I love it.
like the blueberry in the goo with the graham cracker shell.
Blueberry pie with the lattice work over the top. Pie with blueberries in it.
Okay, man, I've never had a blueberry pie like that before. I've had cherry pie like that before, but that's a new one for me. I'll have to try that. Elena, what about you?
It's a hard choice. If I can get away with it, I actually feel like both pumpkin and pecan pie are tied for me. But if I had to choose, I really had to choose, I probably would choose pumpkin.
Ice cream or no? Or whipped
Either.
cream?
I just really love pumpkin pie. I am just okay with it. Plain, accessorized. Both.
I'll tell a story.
One slice of each.
One Thanksgiving, like at the end of the weekend, as we were out of pie, I was eating the last piece of pumpkin pie, and I was sitting watching the football game on Sunday, and I had it on my lap, and the dog jumped up and grabbed the end of the piece of the pie off of the plate, which she never went for food. And I'll be honest, I grabbed the pie out of her mouth and I just cut the little end piece off and ate the rest of it because it was the last piece of pumpkin pie. I'm not going to let that go to waste. Like it's a pumpkin pie.
Amazing.
Willis, what about you? What's your favorite pie?
Dedication.
Yeah, I am a key lime pie person.
Okay.
Also custard pie. But if I have to choose one of the two, key lime, just because I like acidity a lot.
And just like pie, it's tough for me on pie because like a good apple pie with like a nice vanilla ice cream is like one of the all-time. On the road, Kerouac talks about that a lot, about apple pie as a full meal if you have it with ice cream. And like I've lived that life. It's a good apple pie is hard to beat, but pumpkin, key lime. Look, there's no bad pies. Is where I end up, I think. We got one more. Well, maybe two. There's a pretty good question here about the McRib. If we want to get into that, that seems like
go for it. Will.
Liquid R, friend of the show, Liquid R asks: in December, McDonald's is bringing back the McRib and also selling the sauce in jugs. How many jugs of McRib sauce is Santa bringing you this Christmas? Now, I thought the last time the McRib came, they said it was going to be the last time because pork was getting too expensive for the McRib to be profitable.
The farewell tour.
Yeah. They said it was gone forever. I think, as the Simpsons joked a long time ago. The animal that they make it from has gone extinct. So I did not know that this was happening. I'm not really a McDonald's guy, but a McRib is pretty tempting, I'm going to say.
I think that question might have been for me. I am not a McDonald's guy, but I am very much a McRib guy.
Mm-hmm.
In fact, I've tweeted about the pro tip being to add bacon to a McRib so many times over so many years that the last couple of McRib rollouts, McDonald's actually sent me influencer care packages to post about McRibs. We are actually for dinner tonight having fake McRibs. I got some of the encore things and some bacon and stuff, so we can have a trash tier dinner tonight so that when the McRibs come back in a few days, we'll be able to compare and experience the difference.
Didn't know you were a rib head, Brad.
A half gallon of that barbecue sauce, and I'm going to be buying plenty of McRibs.
Look, once upon a time, I told my wife, because the McRib exists when pork futures get to a certain price, right?
It's and like arbitrage.
Yeah, and then they go away after they get too expensive again. And she was like, "That can't possibly be true." And I was like, "Well, here's the article in The Economist." And she was like, "Oh, I hate this so much." Willis, McRib sauce in your future?
Not a huge McRib fan. Sorry,
okay.
Brad.
It's okay.
Because you got to add bacon. I'm telling you, add bacon makes all the difference in the world.
All right.
Saw that pro tip from Randy Crawford from Gearbox in a magazine interview once.
Oh, that's amazing.
That magazine interview closed. They said, "Is there anything here that you want to talk about that I haven't asked you?" He's like, "Yeah, I just want to let everybody know. Add some bacon to the McRibs. It's delightful." went out and tried it, he's absolutely correct.
It was a big, like when the McRib came out, it was like it was like having a new thing on the McDonald's menu was really novel at the time. The McDLT didn't exist back then. We didn't have nuggets were new, so it's an exciting time. Last question. Willis, you want to take this one?
Wait.
Oh, Elena, I'm sorry, I didn't ask you about barbecue sauce.
Oh, I can answer that too. But I was going to actually do an update on the super chat that Coffee sent us. Quick answer. I don't know. Brett might never talk to me again, but I've never had McRib. So I don't think I'm qualified to answer how many I'm going to get. I will say, though, just doing shopping for Thanksgiving, pork is actually really cheap right now, especially relative to like beef. Like, damn.
Yeah.
It's like so affordable relatively. But Coffee said to us, they were like, hey, so I just watched this episode recently, and you said we had looked on Amazon if 1 terabyte SD cards were a thing. And at that time, there was one option, and the consensus was you should not trust memory card company with your precious memories.
We can't trust our own heads with our precious memories, apparently.
Yeah, exactly, right.
We've got results on the pie poll also, which is shocking. Shocking results. Coming in. So the poll was choose your pie. Coming in 4th place with 10% of the vote, key lime.
Ouch.
I know. 75% of the panel here picked that.
Yeah.
It's changing.
Number three is pumpkin with 17%. Number 2, apple, the most American pie, with 30%. And in the lead, pecan. Would have never guessed pecan. 43% of the vote. This is I feel like there's interference. I think the pecan lobby has infiltrated the chat and is coming in. The weird thing about pecan pie, hardly any pecan in it. It's mostly syrups. It's just like a thin layer of nuts on top of syrup goo. It's pretty good.
I constantly forget pecan exists. I am shocked by this.
I look, this is I think this might be one of those regional things, because pecan pie was one of those we always had in the South. Always. Like, you always have pecan pie at Thanksgiving in the South. And other places, having done Friendsgiving with people from around the country and frankly the world, pecan was entirely optional for a lot of areas, a lot of folks from different parts of the country. So anyway, Willis, you want to bring it home with one more?
There was no savory option. I was kind of surprised by that.
But like a meat pie?
That'll be for another poll or Q&A for another day. Yeah. So let's end it with one more question. Deotis asks, Thanksgiving and Black Friday / Cyber Monday on the horizon. What are you most looking forward to? Let's see, for the second year in a row, they'll be watching Bob's Burger Thanksgiving specials and eating way too much pie. Yes, that is for sure. What are you guys looking forward to this holiday season?
I am very excited to sit down with the fam and have a nice meal and like do a bunch of cooking on Wednesday and Thursday morning, and then kind of chill out the rest of the weekend. That's the hey, we're going to eat leftovers and have pie for breakfast and watch a bunch of. We usually watch a bunch of movies, and I think this year we've convinced the daughter to watch a bunch of new movies. So we're very excited about introducing her to stuff she hasn't seen before. But that's where, and board games. Thanksgiving weekend's always about board games for me.
Nice.
All right,
Elena,
I'm excited. Not immediately on Thanksgiving, but it comes out on Thanksgiving. I'm going to watch it soon. Moana 2. I'm pumped about that.
You're welcome.
But the actual answer is I just really love Thanksgiving. It's one of my top 3 holidays, right alongside the Super Bowl and my birthday. So the only actual proper holiday. It's the only time, the holiday is the only time my big extended family get together, and we all get together in one room that's too small for having 20 people there, and it's cooking, so it's hot. We're in New England. Everyone's yelling about Bill Parcells being a bum, but we're all just hanging out, having a good time, sweating and watching football, and I love it.
Sounds great.
Nice. Elena?
I'm looking forward to just sitting and eating and probably doing a lot of napping afterwards.
That's the best.
Willis, what are you up to?
Yes, same thing. Just hunker down, cooking a nice Friendsgiving meal that we're doing this year, and I'll be making my famous signature butter garlic noodles. Yeah, in a really big pot. So yeah, looking forward to.
That sounds fab.
Yeah, looking forward to that, and also taking a big nap afterwards.
like it's hard to like that nap. The hey, I've eaten some turkey, but it's not quite time for pie yet. That's a real good nap right there. You just kind of drowse out on the chair. The old people are all kind of snoring quietly. The kids are off. I don't know what the kids do anymore. It's hard to say. Probably playing Roblox or something.
Eating.
But yeah, exactly.
That's what they do, right?
More eating.
More eating.
But yeah, I hope everybody has a safe and fun and family friend filled holiday week. Hope your Black Fridays, all of you. I hope all of your Black Fridays are fantastic.
Shopping.
Yeah, I hope all your deals are the best and you get exactly what you're looking for.
Yeah, my wallet's screaming right now. It's in pain.
Really? It's that bad already, Willis? It's
because well, I mean, because Christmas is coming up, so I gotta buy gifts for people too. So buying Black Friday deals is the perfect time for me. You got to buy stuff now.
You got to pace yourself though, man. It's Tuesday. Brad Charkis, thank you so much for coming by. It's always good to see you. Hope you
I appreciate you, man. And just every year Thanksgiving, I want to say I really am thankful for the opportunity to work with each and every one of y'all. This is great. And thanks to every one of you guys who are, in the stream, watching us every week, even just popping in every now and again. Couldn't do it without every single one of y'all, and love y'all. Thanks, y'all.
Love these communities. Elena Yee, thank you so much. It's always good to see you. I hope you have a good holiday.
Thank you. You all too. Same for everyone in chat. It's always nice to have you all hang out with us.
Check back next week for your fix of PC talk here on the Full Nerd. I want to report on all of the best Black Friday deals that people got. Like, that's what we want to hear from the chat next week. Listen to the Full Nerd on the go on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Pocket Cast, Deezer, YouTube Podcasts, and more. Please leave a review. The reviews are the single biggest thing you can do to help the podcast out. Reviews get us promoted and let people know that that we do the show every week. So every time you leave a review, Willis will bring in a delicious beverage. Will Sly on the verticals and horizontals. Thank you so much, and we will. You want to take us out? I guess.
Yes. Thank you, Will. Thanks for co-hosting. What was it? Fill in.
The fill in host.
Fill in host.
Yeah.
Thank you for doing that. Everyone's asking, actually, where's Adam? Well, Adam is having a well-deserved vacation right now, and probably making some pie. So when he comes back, I need him to bring some pie to the office.
He's not sick this time. He didn't. Usually when he's not here, he punks out and gets pneumonia or something. I don't know but he's having a good weekend. We hope
he's having a good weekend. Yeah, well-deserved vacation. So. Thank you everyone for tuning in, and have a great week. Have a amazing Black Friday shopping if you're planning to buy stuff. So we'll see you next time. Bye.